The story starts with a boy who is holding someone's picture, and he says to think that the first time I hear about him in 5 years is an obituary. 3 years ago, Main Mandir had already known about his illness and spent the rest of her life trying to find my brother who disappeared. She has been gone for a while now. She has gone to a better place. I gave up on trying to find my little brother and left Korea because I was told to be dispatched to Africa. I am sure I will have no reason to come back to Korea again. The moment my brother was discovered, these were the articles she was reading, and he thinks, was he shooting a movie? There is a pocket watch. He says was the present given to me to wish good luck on my college entrance exam. Now that I think about it, I actually need a watch, and he thanks Hung as he thinks about the past when he and his brother were talking. His brother says, "What do you think about my thoughtfulness?" Something like this is more stylish than a digital watch. But is this inscription here? JW stands for my name, but what do you mean that your last name is Che? How is it spelled? Ka? It is Che. I need to go complain to the Ajusi. He needs to fix it immediately. If there is ever a time I need to write a name, I can write it as Ka. As he watches the watch, he thinks, was it broken? To my brother, who will hold this general one day? By the time you are holding this, I will not be a part of this world. This isn't an auditory hallucination, but there is nothing inscribed on the clock. I am sorry you had a heart, and because of me, didn't you? I just wanted to get some medication that will treat Mom. I thought I would be able to go back really soon, but I ended up drifting away like this. It is October 9th, 2013, and I received a strange text message. The subject matter was too strange for it to be labeled spam, and it started with nothing else. Whether or not I would like to participate. Normally, I would have ignored it, but my exhausted mother in the hospital room got my attention, so I just said I would do it with the thought that it might be true. From that day on, I started to have strange dreams. October 2013, this day was not a dream. I am certain it was reality, and there were elf and dwarf species present. It was a world where orcs and dragon spirits roamed. At the center of all of that was the sun god's tower. Rumor has it that if you surpass it, you will become a god yourself. However, my interest was in the cure medicine that was located inside the tower in the form of an elixir. October 28, 2013, I formed a team with like-minded people and started to climb the tower. However, if I were to compare it to the real world, this place was not to be messed with. November 9th, 2013, I decided to run away from home. I will probably only have a struggle for half a year. With that, I cut off my connection to the real world. December 1st, 2013, our team's name is No Artia. It was the best in all aspects. And in September 7th, 2014, our rate of conquest slowed down. It will probably take another year. November 11th, 2014, a conflict arose with the higher-ranking clan. Our rate of conquest has encountered an obstacle. February 31st, 2015, we were unable to reach an agreement. We were going to war. An opposing clan we allied with has been destroyed. March 4th, 2016, I have someone I love. September 19th, and there is another outbreak of war in January. The forest is still ongoing, and everyone is exhausted. June 6, 2017, a traitor has emerged. There is someone discovered within the clan. Everyone is starting to get suspicious of each other. July 1st, my body is getting heavy. I was an addict. October 30th, 2017, half of the members have left the clan. We are getting defeated, and my body condition is slowly deteriorating. November 1st, the woman who I love stabbed me in the heart and left me. My body is now beginning to rot. February 1st, 2018, I am the only one who remains in No Artia. Where did things start to go wrong? February 28th, 2018, I now possess the elixir, but I am unable to send it home because I'm surrounded by enemies. It was then I knew there was only one person in the world who is on my side. I cannot show these people I am weak. That is why I am writing all of these entries. I am sure that if you listen to all of these, you will get the elixir and deliver it to Mom. As he opens the watch, he says, "To my brother who will hold this general one day, I hope you will listen to these entries one day." Success! Commencing window. The peers, his age, is this the power that the tower and those in the other world possess? To my brother who will listen to this one day, where she gets bloody, and the awakening gets completed. The succession process is incomplete. Please complete the successor after your body has been perfected. Current process, 5%. Current condition is incomplete. Solution, your body is partially advanced. Your nature has been discovered. Your skills have been added. You can only register your player at the obelisk. He says, now I exactly know what happened to my brother. I know why someone led him to death and why he came back to me like this. In 5 years, if that's the case, I need to follow the rules of that world. I will do the same to you all. Is this what they call the status window? This feels very much like a game. After completing my awakening, it said that my body would adjust accordingly, but my ability is still very lacking. A status window appears saying, nature is cold-blooded. You will always exhibit an unrelenting rational label in any situation. You're completely immune to anything along the lines of mind control, like the announcement of brainwashing. My nature isn't bad at all. His age. Dragon visual prowess. The dragons I eat penetrate semen the truth. You are able to preview a portion of a person or object's ability beforehand. Jeong-woo said that he met the ancient dragon Kalatus and formed a contract with him on the 11th floor. Is this what's left of it? Should I believe I was given heightened senses because it works well with my nature? The only one that really got my attention was the last one, because it was clairvoyance. It's probably because of this, right? I feel like you just want me to find the elixir and quietly disappear, but I don't think I could just do that. Look here. What are you talking about? You want to have dinner together all of a sudden? Did something happen to you? Do you have a dream and so you want to talk about it? He says, it is well. If I turn here, then how? As he apologizes to him, he says, with all of that, I have a settled development. I have a house for sale and burned my military uniform as well as my backpack. I bought a brand new backpack and packed it with a couple of articles of clothing, some rations, and some knives that were identical to the ones that I used in the unit. On the first day, I wanted to get a gun or some explosives from the black market, but I cannot continuously supply myself with more magazines. It will only be a hassle. The first round has been going on for about a week now. Players who started are given the advantage based on how late they are. The closer one is to the front end, the more points he can accumulate. There are also hidden pieces that newcomers can take advantage of, and those things should be appearing right about now. As something with a black mist appears, there is a door in front of them. Is it? I am going to let those who are on the other side know who they are blessing from today onwards. He says, I am Cha Jeong-woo, as a panel appears saying, you have entered floor 0, where the tutorial begins. He closes his eyes and says, I really came into the place exactly the same that I saw in the journal. That was an entrance exam for a place that gives them the chance to become a god. In order to climb the tower, you must prove one is qualified to do so. The place that one is qualified is the tutorial beyond this place, where people who hurt him or his just wait for me a little bit, and I will be there soon. In order to enter, I must first get a high score and clear the tutorial. I cannot achieve anything less than first place, and those hidden pieces that are there, I need to gather as many of those as possible and upgrade from the imperfect state before I start climbing the tower. I need to make my play as much as possible. Let's just focus on that for now. As a voice appears, saying, a guest at a time like this, I thought I was not going to be able to meet you. I will just leave. No matter how big my heart is, if you unexpectedly show an attitude, I'm going to be hurt. How about you put away those knives? He says, nice to meet you. I am the floor's manager, who is also a guide. Meeting like this is probably a first. You want to at least clap for me? He says, do you believe me? And he replies by saying that advice from the manager may be something that one trivially brushes off, but it's good to keep it in mind. It seems like you know who I am, but I just thought you were a real person because you are wearing a mask. He says, since you are somebody, it should be easy to talk to you. This tutorial is separated into 7 different blocks from A to G. Each section has its own created environment, each with different trials that must be completed during the time allotted to you. Your score will be determined based on how you complete the trials. All the scores will be accumulated together, and your final result will be announced. He says, "What are the benefits of achieving a high score?" "The higher the score, the better your rewards in the future," he replies. "I am certain that I have explained this thoroughly. How much time do I have?" He says, "You will have 30 days. The way you split those reach days up for each block is entirely up to you, the player. However, we are connected about 1 week into the round already. Would you like to do what you like to start on the next round?" The top group is probably so far ahead that it will be impossible to catch up to them. I already expected that anyway. Also, once you finish your block, it's recommended that you form a party with around 3 to 5 people. With that being said, this probably means that you will achieve a higher score if you were to solo it, wouldn't it? The tower grows. The foundation of the players works as your contribution increases and your work becomes more notable. The way your score is calculated will be adjusted separately, so there is no need to worry. Usually, these types of players go one of two ways. They are either too sure of their skills and die while acting high and mighty, or they become a sight to see. If that is what you mean, then I will begin the trial immediately. The trial on floor 0 will begin. The trial is that the newcomer who is trying to become a god must prove that he has what it takes to do so. In terms of achievements, you must achieve a high score within the allotted time. As a random number appears on his screen, he steps forward, and the system says, "You have now entered Block 1, Arm. Destroy all the traps in this block." The general did warn me about the block having a lot of traps. However, since the location and trigger mechanism for these traps are known, the knowledge was not a big help. As he sees something coming towards him, he gets scared. Extreme pain has overcome your body, and you are not stunned. Your cold-blooded nature will keep you composed. You can no longer stand. You have developed a tolerance to this pain. "I knew this was a dangerous place," he says, "but I did not expect it to be to this degree. This is going to drive me insane if things start out like this." As the system appears when he burns something, it says, "You have been banned." You are not stunned. Your cold-blooded nature will keep you composed. You have developed the resistance to burn. As he advances forward, he says, "When the arrows shot at me, it was timed. There was also a very faint signal. I need to find the right timing, finding where the arrows are from the naked eye. I want to, but it is too dark. I need to listen for when the cock turns. That is the perfect time to find out the arrow's location and trajectory during that short period. I need to listen for the exact sound that it makes." As he uses heightened senses, the system says, "Your sense of touch has been heightened and your hearing has been heightened. The heightened senses skill level has increased by 0.8%. He says, "I found it," as he steps toward the wall. The arrows come towards him. Some miss him. "That's it. I can find it now." He dodges the arrows very easily and says, "Depending on how it is with the arrows, there is a difference. Each state is increased. Dodging the blue arrows from the side will increase agility by 1, pairing red arrows will increase strength, and getting hit by yellow arrows will increase stamina. The more I accumulate, the more I achieve with my job. Where else is there a place like this?" As he is bleeding, he says, "One more thing that bugs me is that there is no vent to increase my magical power. Even so, if I can take advantage of this daily increase, the stats that I want, the more I observe, the more interesting it gets." The goblin says, "I feel like the character who is the first of his kind, friendly. My eyes are more drawn to the person in Block A who has his hands full than to the people in Block E. This guy is for real, one for sure. Even if he qualifies, he will have to face many other dangers, but if he can be sensible and pass the rest, I feel like a lot of fun spectacles will arise during the tutorial." As the system says, you have reached the endpoints. His strength is 29, agility is 33, stamina is 30, and magical power is 21. Except for the MP, all the other stats have substantially gone up. Going up this much in a day is a pretty good outcome. And it's not just that. My physical strength, mobility, endurance, and destructive power have all gone up. Association treatment of your wounds will now begin. It surrounds him, and he says, "An area for a place to rest." I can finally catch my breath now. After some time, he wonders if he fell asleep. As he opens his eyes, someone is in front of him, and he says, "Peekaboo," and gets scared. He says, "Who is this person? I am sure my skills are still in effect." He says, How did I not notice that he was next to me? Perhaps he is a mystery merchant. The unknown person says, "It's clear that you know who I am. I love you, dear. I mean customer. My name is a merchant who passes by occasionally." Merchants will appear at the endpoints to supply the players with what they need in exchange for payments, starting from common food, questions, skill books, and even all kinds of artifacts. A merchant who sells everything in the world. After coming this far, did you find something that you really need to come to mind, sir? He shares something and says, "I am a merchant who sells everything that exists in this world. If you are in need of something, just please let me know." Everything about it watches the artifacts. Medusa's venom, golden goat's horn, time's left eye. Each of these artifacts is really rare. There is no way a tutorial player can acquire these items. He says, "I am not at the stage where I can reply. Just focus on the physical training." He said, "I found it. The reset ticket. You can go back to a certain desired point." He says, "How will I pay for this item?" And he said, "With your stats, you need to pay a correct amount. We are merchants with concise knowledge of reasonable prices. Mineral water for 2 strength. This is highway robbery at its finest." He says, "There is something I would like to purchase." And he says, "What would you like my offering?" "All of the stats I give you later in Block A as payment." He says, "I would like to purchase a ticket that will reset the block." You are the first person to ask for it. People often ask for something that will help them advance to the next stage easily, so there is no one who asks for something that will require a do-over. It's because there is something I want to do. The unknown person says, "I see. An entertaining participant using the ticket is incredibly easy. If you rip your ticket at a location of your choice, you will be recalled to the starting zone." The man says, "I shall now take my leave, hoping that we will meet again next time. All of the stats you have acquired in Block A will now be taken as payment. I feel like my strength is leaving. You have acquired Block A reset ticket X10. As he rips the ticket, a beam of light flashes, and the system says, "This is floor 0 where you start. The tutorial and its trial will now begin." He says, "I will accumulate as many stats as possible here. Today is my last tutorial run, as I refine my senses through the repetition of this tutorial. Synusia is known in the form of my hand. Dragon Visual Process is a skill where I can partially use the ancient dragon's eyes of truth." He says, "When I activated the eyes for the first time, I was shocked by the new perspective I was experiencing." He continues, "The dragon visual god read the fall of the colors in my field of vision, and all I could see was a white background with black lines that brought out the outline of the objects. My brother called this phenomenon Giol." As the system says that he has reached the endpoint, he wonders, did this take around 4 hours for something that once took 34 hours a day to complete? This is a big accomplishment for me. They have gone up quite a bit. As he stands, his strength is 51, stamina is 55, agility is 56, and magical power is 21. He says, "With stats like this, it will be enough for me to get destroyed by other people. The top players are probably already on their way to Block E. If I fall behind even more than now, I won't be able to catch up to them. It is time to seriously begin this race." As the system says, "You have now entered the Block A room," he says, "it's going to clear both Block A and B." As he progresses through the hallway, he gets hit by the arrows. "The space is faster than expected, and I cannot slow down here," he says. "Falling means instant death. If that's the case." He falls down, and a flame appears in front of him. The system says, "Due to your cold-blooded nature, you have developed a resistance to burn. The scale senses have gone up by 15.6%. As his skills rise significantly, he says, "The thing is, are these the things that copy the players?" A copper scarecrow appears in front of him. He says, "A scarecrow that mimics the player's movements and actions exactly. It is also capable of attacking within a certain range." My brother also mentioned these things. They can copy the skills of players and use them against them with more force. If you can defeat them, you will be allowed to enter the boss room. If you cannot defeat them, it will be like being tied down by a ball and chain. There are 2 ways to break through these things. You can destroy them head on or stab through them." As he watches the monster, he says, "The chest is the weak point." He stabs it at that point, but misses. That thing moves according to the sensors. Find the sensor, and I already know the scarecrow can move according to its sensors. He attacks the monster, which explodes into pieces, and it is defeated easily. I was really able to figure out that the copper puppet operates with its sensor by using my heightened senses. This is something that a normal person probably could not figure out, so how did he know? The boy asks, "What are you going to do to me, a way-looking person like him?" He says, "I am asking for your intentions." The boy replies, "I don't have any intentions." "How did you know the fact that the copper puppet operates with such sensors?" he asks. The boy responds, "I was able to see the magic string that was enveloping the copper puppet." Expectedly, he is able to see magic. This means that he has an extremely higher facility with it than even those who can control magic. How can you see and control this magic? I am interested in that. Could you teach me how to do it? If I can learn the technique, it will be a big help for me when it comes to learning how to control magic. He replies, "Granted, I won't ask you much to teach me for free. It seems like you have been trapped here for a while. I will help you get out of here. How about it? It's not a bad condition for you, don't you think?" He says, "It seems like." And now he replies, "Is what you just really said the truth? The fact that you are unable to control magic? I don't have any reason to lie. This makes no sense. You are telling me that something like that is possible when you cannot even control magic. Normal sorcerers can completely manipulate something like that with the copper puppet, and you cannot control magic? Just show me this." His reply is, "I will help you. My name is Yule. What shall I do for you?" However, he asks, "Why are you presenting yourself like that? How you look right now is a facade. You're probably 10 years old inside and out, and you are short. You must be a normal person. Make sure you use honorifics. Just because you are a child doesn't mean I will be lenient," he replies. "I understand." After some time, he says, "We are almost at Block B. Shouldn't you speak up now that we are here?" The boy replies, "I don't know how you will think of this, but I am really able to visually see mana. Maybe it's a bloodline limit skill. There are not many in the world, but it originally happens in a different world. Within the genes, there are cases where unique skills, the supernatural skills, are arranged in a certain way. Those people typically pass on these traits from their great ancestors to the next generation. When a bloodline descendant awakens the skill at a special time, achieving something great with it, they then pass it on to the next descendant. He informs me that he is one of those cases. The skill that I inherited allowed me to feel, see, and taste magic. It's more like I have an affinity for it. That's how I know that the copper puppet was connected to its sensor. Is he a similar case? The nature that my brother had was called perfect adaptation. Being compatible with everything means that he was also compatible with mana, as well as the experiences in the heart-shaped journey that people from the East normally go through. He does not feel uncomfortable when he works with mana. It's almost as if he recovered a precious item that was once lost. He was able to control it like he was already an expert. I know this because he said that they were shocked when they saw what he was doing. He was chosen by the ancient dragon Sali because of those traits, as he was able to communicate with all living things. He was able to inherit the dragon's additional skills while normal people could not do it. Technically speaking, both of the people classified as Genesis and I do not fall into that category. You can view mana as a type of river magic. The water from a small creek or a reservoir flows through the river. He says, "A reservoir, you say? You have cleared Block A as a solo player. You have achieved something that many would find very difficult. You have been given additional karma, and you have reached 500 karma. The concept of karma is very important at the tower. The administrator would use this as the basis for the games so that it can be given to you as a reward and act as currency among the players, allowing the player to purchase or sell goods. If you are a player, your goal is to accumulate as many points as possible. I have already cleared a point, but I have already accumulated so much that people will be astonished by this. This is not enough. I need to take as much as I can." As he enters Block B, there are a lot of people present. He says, "What's with that guy, and what's with the mask? It has been a week since that tutorial started, And there is a qualifier. Did he clear the Block A brutal course by himself? He tells his companion, "What are you doing instead of coming in?" He says, "Finally, I made it out. There is everyone." "What is that?" he asks. "Are they your teammates?" The boy replies, "They were, but they have nothing to do with me." Where was I with the explanation? It surprised him that he knew a lot about magic. The information was hard to understand as usual, but I was able to get a rough idea about the concepts of magic and mana. I now have an idea of what magic is and the easiest way to control it. I'm not sure of myself, to be honest. I was able to control it from the start. For me to explain to you how to do it, he says, "When it cannot be held, I am swimming." After waiting to finish the tutorial, he heads outside and replies, "Yes." He replaces, "Then let's part ways here." As they farewell to each other, Yule's comrades call him back by calling his name. "I love the looks in your eyes. People like you guys stand to do big things when you make things happen. I am building an executive of Orangdan. I will be in Block B's waiting room, so if you're thinking about proceeding, let's go together." To think that he would scout us. Is he referring to the unstoppable group that totally dominated that tutorial level? In the hallway, one of the people says, "We are wrong. They will not prevail. They cannot defeat the monsters there." The men wear an air of confidence. If things can continue like this, finishing that tutorial won't even be the equation. That alone, living this place with your lives. He asks Yule, and he says his ability is simply analysis and much help, so he can stay back. In that case, he grabs him and says, "What are you doing?" as he throws him into the pit of the monster. "How could you all do this to me?" he cries as they are leaving. Even up until Block A's waiting room, he thought he met some really decent comrades. He asks, "Do we have something to discuss?" And their reply is, "How did you do it?" He says, "That's none of your business, don't you think?" He replies, "I don't know what you want to say, but just piss off." He says, "All of you probably feel awkward saying I'm here, and it sickens me having to look at you all." He said, "Let's act like we don't know each other until that tutorial round is over." He apologizes to him and says, "I want to apologize to you. However, I can't mess this up." "What kind of sense is this?" he replies. "In exchange, please keep what happened before a secret." "Not long before? I don't exactly know how to tell you, but what happened between us must go around. I beg of you." He backs away, and everyone says, "I am counting on you." I don't really know what you all are blabbering about, but just get lost. He says, "I don't ever want to see any of your faces again." He says that things cannot end like this. I already told Build that he sacrificed himself if he were to ever say the wrong thing. One day, I will end up using my position that I was scouted for in Orangdan. He said it was hard defending him the first time. However, the second time, thankfully, you were in a secure area where no one is really keeping an eye on us. I will just do a good job of it, doing it secretly. Build does not even know how you look anyway. I can just cover this up by saying he was a casualty from the boss within the tutorial. It is a group that is directly associated with Blue Flower Island. People say that newbies selected from there. However, the people of Blue Flower Island are apparently very fussy, so it is said that they feel uncomfortable around people with a bad reputation. He says, "You guys can't even do it, but he did." And as he charges towards him, his hands get attacked by someone from behind. It is none other than the main character who has come to save Yule. He says, "Things would have gone peacefully, and I would have headed back to Block B, but after learning that he was betrayed by his teammates, it made me feel like I had to step in. I see something in him that reminds me of my younger brother." He says to his comrades, "How long have you been there? To think that no one noticed him." The main character says, "You have decided to stab someone in the back. As a pro, you should at least be prepared to lose one of the rest, don't you?" He is very angry and says, "How dare you do this to my hand? I will kill you." As he charges towards him, he gets blocked. "Just keep trying. I will just make it so that you will never work again." His comrades ask, "What's the deal? You don't have anything to do with him. Why are you stepping in?" He says, "You guys do, but you want to, so there is nothing stopping me from doing the same." He tells them to drop the weapons, and as they don't listen, he tightens his grip on his hand and shouts for them to drop the weapons. As they drop all their weapons, he says, "Let's go," calls Yule, and takes out one person until he is unconscious, drooling. He adds, "Have a nice life from now on, and be careful when it comes to trusting people." He stops him and says, "Thanks to you, I will make sure I become like you one day." As he tells him to visit the flower garden in the Presia, he says, "It will be very helpful for you." As he parts, he says, "That garden is in Presia, right?" The scene then shifts to a man who says, "Would you look at that?" and tells him to get up. Sleeping? The person wakes up and says, "What is it again? I cannot even sleep." He replies, "Did you see what happened before? Those guys who were bragging about planting that they were going to be accepted into Orangdan? They got played. We already expected that to happen after seeing them tactlessly raise their shoulders. I knew they would one day meet their match and get pummeled. They were not really the people who got my eye anyway." He says, "You said he beat them by himself? On top of that, he seems like someone who cleared it as a solo player. That is really amazing, but you said that he beat up some people? That probably means that those people in blue and white are going to throw a fit." He says, "To be specific, he was just a candidate. This is why I was thinking, what do you think about teaming up with him? Being a player means that he is not affiliated with anyone. There is really no one like him." He replies, "Will I? I'm not sure about that. We might have to face the people in blue and white." "When have you started worrying about something like that?" he says. "That's true. Anyone, since I am going to make sure once more. Do you want to come along?" He says that would be a hobby to have. He said, "You're not going to go?" He replies, "That's impossible. Don't you know that I like this sort of thing?" The system says, "The Block B trial will now begin. There are 4 passageways in Block B. Please select one to clear it." He says, "The door design level difficulty increases the further right you go. I decided to take the blue door, the second to the right. I decided to take it easy with my combination choice and an easier place compared to the last one because that was incredibly hard for me." However, after a lot of time passed, my brother discovered the secret to the tutorial and immediately regretted the decision he made at the time. This is because in Block B, the items that one can obtain vary depending on the colored door one chooses. He says, "I will choose the black door. I must obtain the vampiric dagger," the system says. "You have entered the black route. Cross the pond and successfully reach the other side safely." The pond was created after the giant Miro accidentally spilled some water that he was transporting. The pond is inhabitable by living things. He said, "I knew it. This water is not normal. The density and water pressure of the pond water are incomparable to normal water. The average person will be crushed by the water." As he uses his dragon eyes, everything becomes white and black again. There we go. Hidden area discovered, the room of fire and ice. You have acquired 300 credits and you have entered the dungeon. He says, "I found it." He found the white mass, a mass that finds its way into caves. It holds the spirit of the moon. One might contract a stomachache from ingesting it, and it also does not taste good. He says, "It is said that the black route is difficult. There are many ways to tell with the difficulty as well. One of them has to do with white moss. Moss is a miracle drug that possesses the power of the moon, and that is why it is said that there are many animals that consider it a staple food source. However, since this much is not compatible with the human diet, one would be able to extract the energy when it is ingested. There have been many cases where the body would reject it in the form of a stomachache. This is why some players who discovered the dungeon tend to avoid the white moss. A secret that my brother discovered in the distant future was that there was a way to ingest the white mass by using it as one of the many ingredients. Creatures that like insects and animals that consider the white moss to be a staple food have evolved in a way that allows them to artificially emit heat from their bodies, harnessing the energy of the moon. That type of heat engine starts from the heart and takes on the attributes of fire. On the other hand, white moss itself has properties that are closer to the water attribute. The heart and the moss. If I use both of them at the same time, the 2 different properties will synergistically work together, making it a drug that will strengthen my bones and muscles. The human body is very flimsy, and it can easily get sick, break, or tear apart. However, Having a strong framework and durable muscles, there is a way to transform my body like this to make it easier for me to fight. To do that, I need white moss and the heart of an animal to change my body.